Hello everyone, today we're gonna take a look at this $1,000 worth of Marvel Legends Spider-Man Classics action figures. So I don't usually do this kind of videos, but since I'm rearranging my shelf, I had the opportunity to show you one by one all of my precious nostalgia figures, you can say. So I have both comic figures and also from Spider-Man Raimi figures. And yeah, I find Toybiz very special since they had much work put on the figures sculpt and paint, and they were all hand sculpted, so they had different technology back in the day, and they still did a very good job with the Spider-Man figures, I think. Depending on the situations they had that time, we had really nice figures. So let's start right away. So I'm just gonna go randomly get something and show you. So maybe we start with the super posable Spider-Man. Many of you probably know this figure from the Spider-Man 2 movie. This is the one that is from Toybiz. Hasbro also did one version. So as the name says, it's super posable, so even the fingers have articulation. And for the time, this was actually really articulated, and even for today's standards, it has much articulation. Of course, it might look weird in some cases. What bothers me with this figure is this part here, torso, in the torso, is kind of too much out. The other figures didn't have that, but except that, I think it looks good proportion wise for the time. So this ball joints are weird and stuff, of course, but that's what we had back in the day. And this one has also magnets in the feet. And he came with this base actually, so this was metal, so you can put with the magnets on. Of course, he doesn't have in the hands. I don't have that version, but just on the feet, you could still make this work somehow. And yeah, I think it looks cool with the Mary Jane on it. This figure also has very nice head sculpt. It looks really accurate. It doesn't have this detail pattern that we get nowadays. I mean, like the basketball kind of detail, but you get the detail on the blue parts. I mean, this is like really dark blue. But I think the colors are matching the movie well. So it's not like light orangish red that Hasbro is using these nowadays, but it's rather a darker red. And the spider logo is nice sculpted. The web lines are painted well. Like overall, this is an old figure. Some paint is missing in some places, but overall the paint is very nice. So has butterfly joints, of course. The back of the figure. So the logos they sculpted inside here. So the butterfly joints doesn't cut them. That's also very nice, I think. So the head articulation is also very nice. Mine is a bit stiff. I think this is the right side of the neck. I don't know. But yeah, basically, this is one of the best Raimi Spider-Man Toybiz figures. So let's keep moving. Maybe next we check a comic book figure. Snapshot Spider-Man. This is one of the best Toybiz comic book Spider-Man. You can directly realize this has a lighter blue, which you don't usually get. So that's what special was this with this figure. So the Sinister Six Spider-Man is basically the same body mold with a different head. And what is kind of strange is, of course, you get all this detail on the red parts, but the blue part is just flat. So that's kind of disturbing, but not that much. And also the blue part is missing, so it's not painted blue in the articulation on the arms. So you just get this red parts here. And mine also has a QC issue, as you see. Here is blue, but here is red, and it even has some some black shading here. So they even painted this part, which is a mistakenly red. That's kind of weird because this is obviously, I mean, here you have the muscles and stuff. This is obviously this part here, so it's not like a different plastic. It's the same thing. So just painted red. I mean, not painted actually. So probably this is just red plastic and blue is painted on. So they missed the blue paint and instead they put black wash on. Anyway, so the shoulders are big on this figure, which is nice, but they kind of stick out too much because of the butterfly joints. I think how they implemented this kind of joints they used to have is like it goes upwards. It's not like so much on going forward and backwards, but it goes more like upwards and down. So using this is gonna look weird. So it gives you more articulation, but it's just gonna look weird. So when I pose this figure, I try to not use that joint. And the back of the logo is very nice, very classic. So this is still one of my favorite Spider-Man figures, I think. And this is also very well articulated, so very nice articulation. And proportion-wise, at least it has like big chest, so big shoulders. For the time, I think you could still live with it, even though it has this weird shoulders. And of course, you get the finger articulation. And yeah, the web is sculpted not outside but inside. I think it's nicer with comic book figures. And yeah, this head sculpt I think is very nice, very classic. So let's move on with the next one. Maybe this one, battle damage from the first Spider-Man movie. The final battle with the Green Goblin. So this figure has a lot of sculpt. And this is like the one of the first Spider-Man body molds they even had, the Toybiz had. It was originally a comic book figure, but they did some modifications for the movie. Basically, this is like the first 6-inch Spider-Man body, you can say. So it's not the best, but there is some good things about it. Like he doesn't have the ball joints, but the joint on the legs is like what we now have. So it's kind of the modern way. And then they changed it to the ball joint somehow, but I think this was much better. So that's kind of strange because you get the same movement here. You can totally make a split with this figure. So it's kind of strange they went with the ball joint since they could do this. And yeah, so you get a nice unmasked damage, not unmasked, but damaged head sculpt. The hair is kind of coming out here. On the other side, the lens is damaged. Of course, it doesn't look that much like Toby, but still very good for the time. This was 2002, so this is over 20 years. That's kind of crazy. And how much sculpt work is there? So there's not much like blood paint or something. That would be nicer, I think, because he was bleeding in the movie. But still very nice. And there's some shading on the blue parts. Still a lot of paint compared to today's standards. Back of the figure, you still get much paint and sculpt. The spider logo. So the articulation wasn't the best, and this head joint got loose by the time. This one is not that bad, but the regular version. And of course you get toe joints like always, but this was not individual fingers articulated, but just for web shooting like this, just the middle 2 fingers. And he has like kind of a point here for web shooters, I think, because they wanted to first do web shooters on the movie and not like organic web. So that's kind of like a prototype kind of thing. So yeah, very, very nice figure. Very nice to have this in my collection. And next, maybe we go with symbiotes. So Symbiote Spider-Man. This is like the Secret Wars Spider-Man, I guess. So this was also very nice articulated. And the silver is like different. You don't usually see silver on a Symbiote Spider-Man. So that was kind of interesting. And I like that it's silver. This is like the Spider-Man Origins version from Hasbro, but it's totally the Toybiz body mold. You also had a white version, white logo and white lenses. I think the Spider logo was different. And that was the Spider-Man Classics from Toybiz. But basically this is the Hasbro version. But it's not so bad. I like it. I like how the silver looks. The head shape is kind of weird. It's kind of peanut head, kind of too small. Weird looking, not so human looking. But yeah, I still like it. I think the shoulders are not pointing out that much like the other ones. So that's good. This kind of reminds me of the McFarlane one here, how it looks overall. So this cut here, up here, I think is not necessary. You can really use this articulation here, and it just breaks the spider logo. That wasn't necessary. And the up crunch could be better, and it's kind of loose by the time. And this one also doesn't have finger articulation, not individual, but all at once. That wasn't the best either, but it was nice to still have was different. Toe articulation, of course, you also got. So yeah, I still like this figure. This was my first Symbiote Spider-Man ever. So that's why it has a special place for me. I also have it new in package. This one here, he came with this glider kind of. So Spider-Man Origins. Somehow they also had used the Raimi Spider-Man on the picture. So next we're gonna look at my custom Symbiote Raimi Spider-Man. So they never actually released this figure in a really nice articulated form. What they released was trash, basically. Hasbro made a Marvel Legends version, wasn't articulated well, and it was smaller than the other ones. They could have just painted the Toybiz one. I don't know why they didn't do it, so I did it myself. Of course, he doesn't have the correct logo then, but still better than what Hasbro did. So this is basically the web spin and kick. Yeah, spin and kick Spider-Man painted to black. I dyed this figure with a black dye and then painted the silver. Basically, that's it. So this figure got loose by the time, so I thought I'd just use this for customization. So this one is almost the same as the super posable one. Of course, you have the same head sculpt, I guess, but you don't have that weird torso. So that's what I like with this figure. It's just regular torso. This part of the articulation wasn't also necessary, just like the Symbiote comic Spider-Man. And overall, I like this figure. Of course, you had a gimmick on the leg, so I cut that piece off. So you don't get the same articulation on this side as this one. But it's still very well articulated, and I like the up crunch and the neck joint. You can make really nice poses, as you can see. Yeah, just a quick pose. Maybe I do some poses to demonstrate how well they articulated, so that can look up totally high, which is very nice. Yeah, very nice figure. And this is the red version, so this is how it used to look like, basically originally how it came. I think it's very nice. The paint is very clean, and yeah, there's not much difference because it's the same figure, as you can see. So if you think about dyeing your figure, don't dye it too long. I think I dyed it too long. It got a bit more loose, kind of gummy. So don't cook it too much. And I think they look nice together. So when I have them on my shelf, I want to like make a pose both together. I think it's going to look very, very nice. And next, let's look at the McFarlane Spider-Man. So still holds up, still one of my favorite. It's crazy how old this figure is and how much he still holds up. He's kind of skinny and the ball joints kind of bother. But if he was a bit thicker, not thicker, but still a bit not so skeleton looking, could have been even much better. So of course this is the name of this Spider-Man comes from the head sculpt, the McFarlane style of head sculpt. This is originally also called Superposable Spider-Man. So the McFarlane name just the fans put, of course. And the one copy I have is actually very nice. Has still the joints are tight and the paint is still clean and nothing is missing. So I got a very, very mint condition. I'm very happy about that. And this figure poses crazy for the time. I didn't have this figure back in the day, unfortunately, but I have it now. I could imagine when I got it back in the day, this would be like, wow. Just another quick pause, as you can see how well it articulates. And you can even put this on a modern shelf and it's not going to look that weird, I think. And has very nice sculpt work again, and the paint as expected from Toybiz. And this is my favorite version of Spider-Man, the McFarlane art, basically. And it matches the artwork, I think, very well. He was kind of like skinny looking in a way. And the finger articulation, of course, you got the toe articulation. The butterfly doesn't work that well, so doesn't move at all, actually. But they tried. And yeah, the paint is amazing, just like the black wash. And yeah, probably this would be still my favorite figure with the Mayfix one together. I still really, really like this. And you can see even in the shoulders here some comic looking paint. Amazing. Sculpt all over. on the clothes. I mean, as you can see, it's not just flat. So that's really, really nice. This figure is still really piece of art. All hand sculpted. All the other figures, they were also had this sculpt work. They were not just flat, as you can see. You can see this is a costume. But as you can see, the Snapshot Spider-Man is much thicker built. So the leg is much thicker, much more muscular. So this is a taste kind of thing, in a way. I like both of them very much. And next we got the Sinister Six Spider-Man. So basically this is the Snapshot Spider-Man with a different paint and different head sculpt. I like the Snapshot better, but this is also not bad. With this one you got detail on the blue parts, so it's not just flat like the Snapshot one. I can show it next to each other. So much more detailed and more classic. I think for me the light blue. But yeah, it's a taste thing again. This one is a bit also shinier. This is more matte. I think there's more black washing on this as well, so it looks a bit darker red. And the head sculpts, I think this is much nicer, this lens, over this one. I don't know which artist interpretation this is, but yeah, this is kind of weird. But the neck is not painted, strangely. I had this figure several times, and all of them had a not painted neck. This one has a paint, as you can see. So that's kind of strange. It wasn't the individual release. This was the Sinister Six box set with the Sinister Six villains. So you had to get all of them. But yeah, that was not kind of a nice thing back in the day. You don't get that nowadays. So the 5 packs or 3 packs we have now are like not matching characters or just something that nobody interested about. So back in the day, you would get a 6-pack, 5-pack. You had your Spider-Man, Green Goblin, Doctor Octopus, so everything you want in one pack. It was nice. So very much details again. Yeah, very, very nice figure. And the back is exactly the same body. Really cool. You even got some detail on the logo. So next, let's continue with Raimi figures. So this is the Hasbro version of Super Posable Spider-Man. You got lighter red and lighter blue. Let me show it next to each other. And basically, this is from the Spider-Man 3 movie, and everything same. And I like the Toybiz version. I think in the movie he was never this light blue and light red. Also, the paint is not so clean as the Toybiz one. The silver lines are kind of too silver. I don't know if it's how visible it is on the camera. But Toybiz had much nicer quality plastic and paint. The plastic quality on this one is not good either. So the fingers, as you can see, on this one is just well sculpted and nicely attached. And they're not loose, but look at the Hasbro version. They're very loose. So not that one, but this one more, yeah. So this kind of sucks. Overall, the figure, even if you just open a package, it is loose in many spots. Toybiz got loose by the time, but this one already came like that. But if you prefer blue, which is lighter, or you just want to have it in your collection, it's still a nice addition to have. So I wish they just repainted this one for the Symbiote Spider-Man, because yeah, they had this body mold, they could use it. And next, let's go with the McFarlane Hasbro version. So another Hasbro, but Toybiz body mold. And this is also a nice addition to have. So this is like black, really black instead of blue. And it is different. It's not something I'm used to. Nobody's used to this, I think. Also the red is dark. But it's also nice to have a version of McFarlane Spider-Man, because it's very good figure and very good drawing. So it's nice to have this. Nothing different. I think everything's exactly the same, just different paint. And the plastic quality is, of course, a bit different, Hasbro. So to show them next to each other, still the classic red and blue is, of course, a lot better. So you can compare that in any ways, in my opinion, but still nice to have, really nice. And there's also like Fearsome Foes. I think that's the one I'm missing. So same body, different paint, different head sculpt. I gotta hunt that figure. That was from the Fearsome Foes box set. Next, let's check my custom wrestling suit, Spider-Man from the Raimi movie, the first movie. So basically this is a costume that I bought from eBay. I didn't make the costume, but I painted the shoes. I made a video about this, you can check, I don't know which figure I used from. And the hands, I made it like gloves. And yeah, this logo is printed on, but I painted the white parts a bit because it didn't look like that in the movie, it was just black. So there's white edges, I could make a bit more paint around that. And this is the Toybiz head sculpt basically underneath. I can take it off. The unmasked Toby head from the Peter Parker figure. I added this, so it still counts for a Toybiz figure for me. The regular version, I have it new in package, but yeah, that figure is not so durable, so I'm not gonna open that, and I'm thinking about selling that figure. If you're interested, let me know. So I prefer to have this one, cloth version, but this is a modern figure, of course, the modern body of Hasbro Marvel Legends. But yeah, nice, very nice to have, and it's very well articulated, by the way. So yeah, just to show you, the clothes doesn't hinder articulation at all. It's very soft tissue. And there's nothing on the back, unfortunately. So the logo is just on the front. In the movie it was also on the back. And also the blue part on the leg had like a white part here on the sides, more white line going down. That would be nice to have. But yeah, it's just flat blue. And it's a bit too white, I think. It could have been a bit tighter, but nah, actually this is good. This is more accurate. It's just regular sweatpants, so it wasn't so tight in the movie. And next, let's look at this first Spider-Man Raimi figure ever. So this is the earliest version. So the head sculpt is kind of strange. It doesn't look that accurate and very loose. But I repainted the blue parts, so it was not in good condition, and the silver as well. Still very good figure for the time. So it's just the same thing as the battle damage version, just without the damage. And the blues are different, of course, because I repainted it, but it was a very similar blue as the one on the right. And it's amazing how they just used the same figure for the comic figure and then for the movie, and then they did the battle damage version, just modded it. So even if they used the same body, they did some changes, of course. And yeah, just like the other one, same articulation, not the best articulation, but this leg articulation was nice, out of their time. So the old Spider-Man logo from the first movie, they changed it in the second one. And the head was very loose on this one. Yeah, not the worst, but yeah, I think I fixed it a bit with the super glue. But the rest of the body is not that bad. So yeah, very nostalgic, very nice to have. Next, let's look at Man Spider. So not well articulation, but very, very much paint and sculpt. And yeah, this figure looks crazy. It's like really, really crazy looking. And nice paint, I think. A lot of paint. The lines are not that visible, so they could have had more black there. But overall, the face and everything is nice. He's not gonna look well with the modern figures, because they just look flat nowadays. But with the Toybiz figures, this is crazy. Not much articulation, but still you can make him look nice. He doesn't have to do much, so all the arms move, but they don't bend anywhere else. So the legs as well. So you're kind of stuck in a pose like this. But yeah, still nice to have. Really, really cool. And he's huge, of course. And the last one, Spider-Hulk. Also one of my favorite. This, like, they just had a drawing of Spider logo, I think, like once in a comic, one comic line. But this figure is still very nice, even though he doesn't really resemble any Spider-Man. Still very nice. The paint, amazing. So the black wash is not that extreme, so it doesn't look that bad. But they could have put a bit more, I think, to point it out a bit more. And the blue doesn't have that much paint, so, but it's still fine. Mine a bit damaged here, so he was a black wash, I think, but looks like somebody had a fingerprint on. Yeah, very nice looking. The proportions are nice. Has toe articulation. The fingernails painted. That's nice, and even has detail on. And you can see there's some paint detail, black. Maybe if I darker the colors, it is gonna be more visible. Yeah, like this. Yeah, exactly. Now you can see the details much better. I wish I did the video before. So anyway, so you see the sculpted parts, so the greens are coming out. That's really cool. They really did nice things back in the day. And the head sculpt, this kind of looks like a Chad, white chin. And the articulation wasn't that bad, of course, it's a big figure. And had this gimmick on the back. I wish he didn't have that. So he would just move the arm slightly. I can now do this with one hand. Yeah, like this. For children, basically. This wasn't really collectible, meant to have. But now it is. And the fingers, all individual articulation, and even many points of articulation, just not one place he didn't move. So I'm missing one finger there, unfortunately, but as you can see, very nice, very nice. So you can make a fist or web shooting. Doesn't really look like a fist, but yeah, it was just different, nice to have back in the day. So just a quick pose, still articulates good enough. And yeah, it's also one of my favorite, I think, with the McFarlane Spider-Man. These are very hard to get nowadays, but if you find one for a good price, definitely go for it. They will never do things like this again. Impossible with the Hasbro standards today. Also inflation and everything. If they made this, it would cost a lot. So this was just a regular figure back in the day. Huge plastic, a lot of sculpt, a lot of articulation, and just overall nice quality of art, you can say. Anyways, this is a long video. I think one of my longest probably, but this was worth making. So that's it for today. See you in the next one.